What's up, YouTube? It's the Equipment Junkie here, and this is episode 1 of the Equipment Report. Let's go. Alright guys, so as I said, this is going to be episode 1 of the Equipment Report. This is a new segment we're going to try to do weekly, just kind of talking about some of the equipment out on tour, what guys are playing with, what guys are winning with, some interesting things we see in bags of tour players and whatnot. So this week we are talking about Hideki Matsuyama's What's in the Bag after his win at the 2021 ZOZO Championship. Pretty interesting bag, so let's get right into it. Alright guys, so Hideki is a very interesting player. Srixon tour player, as most people probably know. But he's got some interesting things as far as shafts go. He just switched into a new 5-wood that he used at ZOZO. It's the one he hit into 18 when he made Eagle to win. So, yeah, some interesting stuff there. We'll just start out with the driver. Srixon Zx7, so going with the little bit smaller profile. He used ZX5 for a while. I think he won at Augusta with ZX5. That's a little bit bigger profile. Said he was getting a little bit more ball speed, but he used both of them at various points. He tests a lot of equipment, so he went back to ZX7 for his ZOZO win. 9.5 degrees and flat. It's in the flat setting as far as that head goes, as far as adjustability goes. Shaft. This is where it gets interesting. He's playing a graphite design Tour 80 Di 8 TX, not anything light. Super interesting, right? A lot of guys are going lighter. A lot of guys are trying to pick up more club head speed with lighter shafts. He's playing an 8 TX, so something in the 80 gram range, something pretty heavy. Obviously works for him. Obviously gives him the control he wants, the feel he wants. And Hideki's a very big feel player, so not overtly surprising to see him going with something heavier, but definitely not something you see every day, something super stout and super heavy like that. Alright guys, so when we jump into the 3-wood, Hideki is gaming a Taylormade Sim2 Ti. Not super surprising. He's been a big user of Taylormade fairway woods in the past. What's interesting is that he's not playing a max. With Hideki, we tend to see him going for like an M2, a Sim Max, something that's less adjustable, a little bit higher ball speed, a little bit more MY, a little bit more forgiveness, but he's playing the titanium version of the Sim 2, so adjustable version. He's got this thing at 15 degrees. Again, stout and heavy. He's going with a Tour 80 Di 9 TX. So again, obviously heavier, more control, something he likes the feel of, and it's working out very well for him. So the next thing in Hideki's bag is going to be his 5-wood. He's currently using a Cobra Rad Speed Tour. I believe it's a 17 or 18 degree 5-wood. A little bit different from what he used at Augusta National when he won the Masters. Hideki was using a Taylormade Sim UDI when he won at the Masters with a Tour issue True Temper Elevate X100. Obviously looking for something that's going to go a little bit higher, a little bit easier to launch, probably goes a little bit further as well, and that's obviously been a good addition. That is the club he used when he hit that shot into 18 to make Eagle. I'm not sure if it's the one he used earlier in the round on Sunday to make Eagle, but nonetheless, obviously working out well for him. Shaft, Graphite Design, Tour 80 Di. Don't have any confirmation on the weight he's using, but you'd have to assume it's probably going to be a 100 TX, somewhere in that range, at least 90, probably around 100 gram TX shaft as far as that goes. So with Hideki, big user of the Graphite Design Tour 80 Di, he's used that for a long time, a lot of years. Obviously something he's used to, something he likes a lot. So let's jump right into his irons. Srixon Z Forged 4-through pitching wedge. Not a big surprise here. Obviously, a Srixon blade, one he helped develop, so not overtly surprising. He's using them. Obviously, he's used them for a while. He's used Srixon clubs for a long time. Obviously, working out pretty well. Where it gets interesting for Hideki is he actually uses True Temper Tour Issue S400 shafts in his irons. Most guys would play X1s, especially at his speed. That's where it's kind of interesting, because Hideki is using heavy and stout shafts in his driver and fairway woods, 8, 9, 10 TX shafts in his fairway woods, and then he goes into a softer S400 in his irons. Obviously, there's a reason behind it. You'd have to assume a little bit of more flex in the shaft, probably giving him a little bit more height. Maybe it's easier to curve the ball right to left. Something along those lines you'd have to assume. But obviously something that he's tested works well for him. I'd really love to know why he uses S400s in his irons, but until we can obviously speak to him directly and kind of talk to him about that, we're not really going to be 100% sure. But definitely an interesting thing, something you don't see on tour very often, but like I said, working very well for him. Now, he uses S400s in his irons, but when we go to his wedges, he actually switches into an X100. Kind of odd. I mean, not really sure why he does that. Most guys would play X1s in the irons, kind of get the spin down, kind of make sure that they're having something that's going to hold up against speeds, especially in the long irons, make sure the spin stays in check, launch angle staying in check. But then he goes to an X1 in his wedges. And what you'll see with most guys, like I said, they'll play X1s in the irons and then S4s in the wedges because they want a little bit more feel, especially inside of 100 yards, around the greens, in bunkers, and rough. You're going to get guys who want something softer, want something that's going to be a little bit easier to chip with, want something that's going to be a little bit easier to spin. So normally you would go, like I said, X1 in the irons, S4 in the wedges, but he goes the opposite. He throws X1s in the wedges because he probably wants to see something that comes out a little bit lower, and he probably has new wedge heads every few weeks, so he doesn't probably need something that creates a ton of spin because he already has heads that are going to spin for him. As far as the lofts go in his wedges, he goes 52, 56, 60. The 56 is bent to 57.5, and the 60 is bent to 62. So a little bit weaker in those higher up wedges, probably wants a little bit less offset. As well, they add a little bit more bounce when you weaken them. So super interesting with the shafts. As far as wedges go, he's been known to test a lot of wedges, test a lot of different grinds, but obviously right now 52, 57.5, and 62 is what is working for him. Now we jump into the putter. So Hideki is quite the guy when it comes to putters. He's been known to travel with a dozen putters week to week and just test stuff all the way up until Thursday. If you saw in our latest Instagram post, you would see he does a lot of testing, and that was 6 putters, 6 super unique putters, and there's plenty more out there that he's tested. So big putter testing guy, doesn't really stick with one thing for too long. He used a Scotty Cameron Newport 2 GSS when he won ZOZO. Unfortunately, it's not 100% confirmed which model. He used a 2012 model when he won at Augusta, and sometimes he puts in his 2016 model, which he calls Ace. Unfortunately, I couldn't tell which model he had in the bag at ZOZO. There weren't really any good up-close videos of him using it, so just can't tell, but definitely a Scotty Cameron Newport 2 GSS. Not overtly surprising. That seems to be his go-to when it comes to putters. All right, guys, so last couple of things with Hideki Matsuyama. He's playing a Srixon XV golf ball. And then grips, he's got the Iomic X Evolution on his irons and woods. And then a Scotty Cameron Studio Design, I believe it's just the small black pistol on his putter. So pretty interesting what's in the bag. Super stout wood shafts, softer iron shafts, then back again to the stout in the wedges. Something I forgot to mention is that he plays an S4 in his 52, and then he goes back to X1s in his 56 and 60. So still keeps with that softer shaft in the 52, and then goes to the stouter, lower launching, less spinning shaft in the higher wedges. Guys, that is it for this episode of the Equipment Report. We're hoping to bring these to you weekly. This is going to be episode 1, covering Hideki Matsuyama's What's in the Bag. If you like this video, give it a like, thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on our other social channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It should be on our YouTube bio. You can jump to those links and then follow us. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, we will see you in the next video. Peace.